So guys, what you're going to be doing today is applying a layer style and finishing up on our Hawaii Island Paradise postcard. So the very first thing you need to do is go log on to Edmodo and download the file, the 04 start P5 day 3 .psd file. It's for periods 5 and 6, so go ahead and download that. And mine is just being a little slow. It's probably because I am recording this. So just a little bit of a reminder, what I do is I will show you how to do something, and then I will undo what I just did, and then I will show you it again. If at any point you need more time, just pause the video and do what I showed you, and then start the video again. You also have or will need the packet, and we will be working on page 109 is where we're going to start, and we're actually going to finish the packet today. So now that our file has downloaded, what we're going to do is it will automatically open in Photoshop. Now been downloaded from Edmodo and then opened into Photoshop. So what we're going to do is apply a layer style. And what layer style does is it enhances a layer by adding a shadow, stroke, satin sheen, or other special effect from the collection of automated and editable layer styles. These layer styles are easy to apply and a link directly to the layer you specify. So just like a layer style will have an eyeball below it, and I'll show you more of that later. So the very first thing we're going to do is click on the Island Paradise layer. Once the Island Paradise layer is clicked, it is highlighted in the grayish blue color. We are going to go up to Layer, Style, and from there we're going to go over to Drop Shadow, and we will click on it. Okay, let me go ahead and show you again. So we have our Island Paradise text layer selected. We go up to Layer, we go down to Layer Style, and then we're going to go over to Drop Shadow. So again, Island Paradise layer selected, go up to the very top of your screen, click on Layer, go down to Layer Style, and then over to Drop Shadow, click on Drop Shadow, and your preview window is now going to come up. And how you know that style is selected is it has a check mark in the box, and it is also highlighted in yellow. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the structure part of it, and I'm going to start from left, go to right, and go all the way down to each section. So the blending mode needs to be set on multiply. We're going to leave the color the way it is right now. We're going to change the opacity. Make sure it's set at 75%. Our angle is going to be at 78%. We're going to leave our Use Global Lights checkbox the way it is. Our distance is going to be at 5px. Our spread, which is where we're going to change, needs to be at 30. And our size right here, we are going to change to 10. Again, blending mode is multiply, leave the color the way it is. Opacity is 75, angle is 78, use global lights as checked, distance is 5, spread is 30, and size is 10. Go ahead and make sure you have all of those added in there. And also a little tip, when you're making a change, it's always best to move your layer style box a little bit out of the way, because as you're doing that, you can actually see on your screen, your canvas, you can actually see the drop shadow here. When we start to add other drop shadows, you'll be able to see it as well, and when we start to add other things, it's kind of best to just move your screen off to the side. Okay, after you've added all those in, you made sure all of yours looks just like mine and matches on the paper, you're going to click OK. And what that does is by clicking OK, you're accepting the settings and it's applying it. And just as I stated before, just like each layer, your effects has eyeballs. So if you watch, sorry I didn't mean for the screen to go up, the eyeball here, you actually can see the drop shadow has gone away. To put the eyeball back in, you just click on it again and your eyeball will become visible again. So then you will see the drop shadow that we just did. So a cool thing about Photoshop is once you do an effect, you can apply that effect to all of your layers. And if you notice on your text layer that we just did, the Island Paradise, there is an FX symbol right here on the far right. That FX symbol is just like the FX channel, it means special effect. And in this case, we added a layer effect to it. And we can actually apply this layer effect to any other layer. We can actually, if we click on it and move it down, we can actually move that special effect to another layer. But in this case, what we want to do is we actually want to duplicate that special effect. So the way we do that is we find the Option key on the keyboard. Holding down the Option key, we're going to click on the FX and we're going to keep it held down and we drag it down to the Hawaii layer. And if you notice, we have FX, FX on both layers. So let me go ahead and show you that again. On our Island Paradise layer, the FX, hold down the Option key on the keyboard, click on the FX, keep holding it until you drag it down to the Hawaii layer and release both. And once again, the eyeballs can be removed from that layer so you can see the effect. I'm going to put the eyeball back in, and there's our drop shadow. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to add a stroke around the Hawaii layer, almost like a border. So we need to select the Hawaii layer. So we're going to go ahead and click it. Our Hawaii layer is now in blue. What we're going to do is we're going to click on the Add Layer Style. If you come all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see that same FX key logo. If I click on it, I'm now going to see the different layer styles that I have. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on Satin or Satin. Okay, once again, I'll show you down here. Click on your Hawaii layer. Go down to the FX at the bottom of your layers palette on the far left corner. Click on it. Click on it. And a new layer style box comes up. But this time what you're going to see is you're going to see the word satin, and it's going to be with the check mark in the box, and you're also going to see that it is highlighted in yellow. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to specify specific things on here. click on the wrong one. It's actually not satin for this one. I got ahead of myself. We're actually going to click on stroke. So we're going to click on the check mark in stroke. We're going to click stroke. So it now becomes highlighted in yellow. Okay, I'm actually going to unclick satin. So go ahead and unclick the satin. Make sure stroke has the check mark in the box, and it's also highlighted by clicking on the word. And at this point now what we're going to do is I'm going to go through that. So here under the size, I'm going to change it to 4. Position is going to be outside. Blending mode is set to normal. Opacity is 100. Okay, so once again under structure, size is 4. Position is outside. Blend mode is normal. Opacity is 100. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to where it has fill type. We're going to click, leave it as color. And then we're going to click in this little box right here. And we are actually changing the outside of our Hawaii. So choose any color that you like. No specific one needs to be selected. After you have the one that you want to select, go ahead and hit OK. And then we're going to hit OK again. And you can now see the drop shadow around the Hawaii. So now what we're going to do, and this is the part that I got ahead of myself, we're actually going to add the satin sheen to the flower. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the flower layer, go ahead and scroll down, and you don't want the flower 22 layer, you want the actual flower layer. So we're going to click on this flower layer, it's highlighted in blue, so make sure that flower layer is selected. We're going to go up to layer, layer style, and this time we're going to go to drop shadow and click on it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and redo this again. So I have my flower layer selected. I'm going to go up here to layer, layer style, and then click on drop shadow. Okay, as always, I'm going to start on the top and go all the way down. This is going to stay the same, the multiply. The color is going to stay the same. Opacity, we're lowering it to 60. Our angle will stay the same. Use global lights will stay the same. Our distance is going to be changed to 13. Our spread is going to be changed to 9. And our size will remain at 5. So once again, blending mode is set to multiply. Leave the color as black. Opacity to 60. Angle to 78. Distance is 13. Spread is 9. And size is 5. Also make sure your Use Global Lights is selected. Make sure you do not hit OK. Give you guys a couple more seconds to finish this before we move on to the second part. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to click on Satin. Okay, so we have the satin selected. We're going to come up here to the top. We're going to click Multiply. Our color, we're going to change a color that actually, I'm going to move this out of the way, that actually looks good on the flower. So as you can tell, as I'm changing it, you can actually see the color of my flower changing. So if I wanted it more yellow, I could change it more yellow. If I want it darker, I can change it darker. So I'm just going to pick a color here. Okay, so I have my color. I'm going to click OK on my color picker. And we're just going to go through here. So the opacity we're going to change to 20%. Angle is going to remain at 19. Our distance is going to be at 22. and our size is going to stay at 14. So again, we clicked on the satin box here. We have the blend mode set to multiply. We chose the color that we wanted. After we selected it, we clicked OK. We then changed the opacity to 20. Our angle stayed at 19. The distance went up to 22, and the size of stayed at 14. After we have that done, we're going to go ahead and click OK. And if you notice, we can remove the eyeball and you can see the difference in the color that we did. You can also see the drop shadow removed from the flower. So the next thing we're going to do is add an adjustment layer. So I'm going to give you just a second to finish up what we're doing, and then we're going to go to the adjustment layer. Okay, so the next thing we're doing, as I stated already, is we're adding an adjustment layer. And what an adjustment layer can do is it can be added to an image to apply color or tonal adjustment without permanently changing the pixels of an image. So for example, if you add a color balance adjustment to a layer of an image, you can experiment with the different colors repeatedly because the change only occurs on the adjustment layer and is actually not changing the actual picture. So for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to add a hue and saturation adjustment layer in order to change the color of our purple flower. So what we're going to do is we're clicking on the flower 2 layer. So it's the flower 22 layer for most of you guys. It's this flower down here in the bottom right corner. So what we need to do is make sure that our flower 2 layer is selected. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to the top. It's the one that's 2 to the left of the black and white that we used. Okay, so it's this one right here. We're going to click on it. And this little box comes up, the hue and saturation. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the hue to 43, saturation to 19, and the lightness stays the same at 0. Okay. As we're doing this, you can see that it actually changed the flower 2 layer, the pineapple copy, the pineapple layer, the clouds, and the background layer. And as this might be interesting looking, it's actually not the effect that we want. Okay. And so once again, let me go ahead and walk you through the step that we're doing, just so everybody's on the same page. Okay, so we're going to click on the flower 22 layer. We are now going to come up here to the hue and saturation, click on it. In the hue box, we're going to add 43. In the saturation, we're changing it to 19, and the lightness is staying at 0. After that, you can either leave this property window box open or just hit the 2 little arrows up here on the right to close it. Now what we need to do is do what's called a clipping mask. And what the clipping mask does is it actually acts like masking tape, where wherever you put the layer around it, it won't go outside of that. So in this case, we're going to put the masking tape over the flower. So the way we do that is we need to make sure our hue and saturation layer is selected. We're going to hold down Control on our keyboard. With Control held down still, we're going to click on the hue and saturation layer. And this box comes up, this list. We're going to click Create Clipping Mask. And what it does is it adds the masking tape around everything except for the flower. So let me show you one more time. On the hue and saturation layer, hold down Control on the keyboard. Click with your mouse while still holding down Control. Go up to Create Clipping Mask, and there you go. Go ahead and take a minute and finish that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is do what's called updating a layer effect. And what it does is the layer effects are automatically updated when you make changes to your layer. So you can edit the text and watch the layer effect track the changes. First, you'll use the new search feature in the layers panel to isolate the text layer. So up here in our layers palette, you're going to see what's called kind, okay? Make sure that is placed on kind, so it has the magnifying glass kind. There's tons of things you can search by. You can search by name, effect, mode, attribute, color, smart object selected, but in this case we're going to click kind. And what you have here are little options, okay? The one that we are actually worried about is the T. And what it's going to do is it's going to filter any layer that is a text. So we're going to go ahead and click on it, and there should be one layer that's remaining, which it shows right here. So once again, make sure it's on kind and select that T, and your only text layer will show up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our horizontal type text tool in the tool box. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go all the way up here to the top, and what would happen is as I'm changing this, it will actually change everything. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to change it to 32, and I'm going to hit enter. And what it does is it would actually change this right here. There we go. And as I did it, you should have saw that it made it smaller. So I'm going to show you one more time. And make it bigger. Press enter. And I'm going ahead and selecting mine, but on your guys's it automatically changes it for you. It might just be because I'm using the web-based version of Photoshop. Okay. So as we did that, you're going to notice that it automatically tracked your changes for you. Okay, so everybody should have that now changed to 32. Mine is not, so let me go ahead and change it. Okay, so how we go back to our regular layer, so where we have them all present, is there is this little box right here off to the far right. It's a little red switch and it's red and black. If I click down, I can then see all of my layers. There we go, like a light switch, as if you're flipping a light switch. Okay, so we have that light switch down, we no longer see the red, and all of my layers are present. So the next thing we're going to do is we will add a border around our Hawaii postcard. We are almost done, so let's go ahead and get started with this. So what we're going to do is select the postage layer. Go ahead and select your postage layer. Click on your Move tool. The Move tool is the top tool on the far left. Click on it. Now we're going to click on the postage and we're going to move it. Doesn't have to be perfect, just move it in the middle of your postcard. So part of it is over that photo. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select the Island Paradise layer in the Layers palette. We are going to create a new layer, so we're going to come down here at the bottom. We're going to click the little button to create a new layer. So once again, Island Paradise layer selected. Come all the way down to the bottom of our Layers palette next to the trash can and click Create a New Layer. Click on it. We have a new layer called Layer 1 now. We're going to go all the way up to the top and go Select, Select All. Okay, so once again, click on Layer 1. Go all the way up to the top, go Select, Select All. You will now have dancing ants around your whole canvas. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on Select again. We're going to go down to Modify. And the only option we have here is Border. So we're going to go ahead and click on Border. Again, that's Select, Modify, Border. Click on that. In this box that comes up, we're going to change it from 4 to 10 pixels. The pixels are going to be the width of your border. We're going to click OK. Now what we're going to do is come down here to the bottom of our palette, our color palette. We're going to choose a color that we think will go nicely around our file. After you pick that color, go ahead and click OK. Okay, so once again, I click down here in my foreground color, chose a color that I thought would match nicely with this. It can be any color. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to click on Edit. I'm going to go down to Fill. And then this Use is where I'm going to change to foreground color. And then I'll click OK. And now what I have is I have a outline around my whole image. And now what I need to do is get rid of this. So I can do two things. I can either go Select, Deselect, or I can go Command D. And there's one last thing that we need to do with our image. So if you look down here at the very bottom, you're going to see two numbers. This first one is an approximate size of what it would be as if you flattened your image. And the one on the far right is the actual size of your image. And 30.4 megabytes is a pretty large image. So if I was to try and save this now onto Edmodo, it more than likely would tell me that the file size is too big. So what you would do is you would actually call what's called flatten, which is make an image to where it's completely sealed. The only downfall is you won't be able to make any changes to that Photoshop file. So one suggestion that I always have, and that I like to do a good practice, would be to save a Photoshop file so you can go back later and make changes to it. And then also save a flattened image. So if you need to do anything with it, like submit it to get copied, or turn it in or anything like that, it's actually, you have your work completed, but it's not going to take up a lot of space. So what we're going to do is you're going to select any tool but the text tool. So just make sure I'm on the move tool right now, so we're good. What we're going to do is we are going to duplicate our canvas. So we're going to come up here to the top. We're going to go to Image, and we're going to go down to Duplicate. Again, that's Image and then down to Duplicate. It's going to ask you what you want to save it as. And in this case, we want to save it as 04 flat, as in flatten. Again, that's 04 flat. After we're done with that, we're going to click OK. And now we have two Photoshop files, two different tabs. And they're still both Photoshop files. We need to still flatten this one. So the way we flatten it is we come over here to any layer in the Layers palette. We are going to click, hold down Control on the keyboard, okay? Click with your mouse and go up to Flatten Image. And the only thing that will remain in your Layers palette is the background layer, okay? So again, I have my second file open. I'm going to come over here to my Layers palette, hold down Control, click with my mouse, and go up to Flatten Image. And then I'm done. I now have two files. I have a flattened image that has one layer, which means you can't go and move anything or make changes. And then I have my actual file, which has all of my Photoshop files. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and save both of these. On Monday, I will be checking them and putting them in the gradebook.